Okay, I was gonna come. Hello, I was gonna come in through the curtains, but I've sort of blocked up my entrances. So anyway, welcome to a special edition of the Playful Life podcast. The first time we're actually doing a live stream, and who better to do it with Stephanie Benedetto, who is I'll say a little bit more about Stephanie in a bit, but she likes to go with the flow and invent things on the way, even though I'm sure it makes her very nervous, like it does all of us when we don't know exactly what we're going to do, right? But live streams are actually really cool, and even if you're watching in the recording, it has this live stream energy to it, so enjoy it. So let me say, so I met Stephanie. Um, I'm working with Bradley Morris right now and he's a playful entrepreneur, and he's helping me getting to the nitty gritty of making business plans, but in a playful way always. So that I really appreciate that. And I met Stephanie on in his membership, and she connected to me, and we had a good conversation about play, and it's just always really great to meet other playful people. And Stephanie also has quite an interesting story, which perhaps we'll get into a little bit, but she's probably shared it lots of times. But I think it's quite interesting. We're gonna welcome Stephanie to the virtual stage. Boom!
Here I
Hello.
am. Hi, Anthony.
Hello. So Stephanie's originally from the US and she lives in Portugal. Is that right? Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is correct.
And so I don't know. I think probably lots of people have talked about this with you already, but let's just start here because your story is a little bit like Eat, Pray, Love somehow, right? You know, can you tell your story very briefly, perhaps in a
Yeah.
way you haven't really told it before, maybe, so it's new for you
Okay.
too.
All right. This will be well, it's different every time. This
Okay.
time, let's see. Once upon a time, there was a woman called Stephanie. We'll call her Stephanie for now. And she lived in New York State. She had a loving marriage. She had a business with her husband that was very successful, an online business. They had made over six figures every year and over 1 million in online sales from their business. They owned 2 houses. They had lots of pets. They had everything going for them. And somehow she knew it was time to leave that life. Not because there was anything wrong with it, just because it was time. And she took her time. She took about a year to be sure that she was clear about what she was doing, that she wasn't escaping, that she wasn't avoiding, that she wasn't trying to explode her life, because she'd done that one before, tried to explode it, right? She wasn't doing any of those things. And she made a vow that if she was going to leave that life, if she was going to leave that marriage, it would be from a place of peace. And so that's what she did. So she left that life of safety. She'd always lived in New York, relative safety, and began a life of traveling and pet sitting before most people knew what a digital nomad was. This was pre-pandemic. And it took her on a journey into a new life. And so just about 2 years ago, another wave of change came to me. Oh, I'm changing my pronouns now. Another wave of change came to me.
Who cares? Who cares?
Okay, all right. We know we're talking
Let's
about
be freed
me.
up from this. Okay, yeah. Oh,
Yes,
Stephanie. Oh, you're the person that you talk about in the story. It was you. Oh, okay, good.
it was me all along. It was me.
Okay, so let before we go into this even more. So
Yeah.
on one hand, we have people that they're happy enough in their life, but like you were saying, they feel that there's something else out there, or they feel that something's not quite aligned. Um, and I'm sure you did some real checking in with yourself to see what it was, before you made that sort of decision. So where I always like to give people a bit of a friendly nudge, to like make big bold decisions. making a decision like this isn't something to be taken lightly. Uh, we can bring a lot more lightness into our lives before we make a decision like this. But at some point, we need to, we need to just completely change. And what happened exactly when, like, there's two moments, right? There's one moment when you actually made a decision. You said, okay, and there's a moment where you actually like left, right? So how was what was this like? This feeling before and after? I think this could be quite interesting.
Yeah. I know where I was when I knew what I was going to do. It kind of dropped in. I was at a yoga retreat, actually. And I just knew it was like it just dropped into me. It's time to leave your marriage. I was like, what? No. Wait, yes, no, yes, no. As I said, I loved my husband. We were friends, we had fun, we had success together in a business. So that's where I was. And I had every emotion under the sun about it. Everything from excitement to fear and sadness. And that was when I knew. There was no reason. It just came to me. It's time. It's time to go. And so I wrestled with it. And actually that moment taught me a lot about following this inner knowing. It doesn't match my thoughts and my feelings a lot of the time. It's just a knowing, like, go, do this thing. And then I can do it or not. And I might have all kinds of feelings about it. So that's what happened when I knew. And it was a year later that I actually left. So I had to go through a process for me of exploration, reflection, communicating with my husband, sitting with what the hell am I going to do? So I know I'm going, but like where? I don't know. What's that going to look like, right? So it was a year later that I actually left. And I think maybe it was 9 months that I told my husband, yeah, I'm going. It was after another transformational experience, actually. I went to my NLP certification. I became a practitioner. I did a week-long training in Las Vegas and came back really clear. And I was like, yeah, I'm going. And he said, will you give me 3 months? I said, yeah, I will. He wanted to prepare. He needed time. And so that was kind of like stage 2. And then the third part was, all right, well, now what am I going to do? I've got 3 months. And the day that I left, I was in a very strange place, Anthony. Like I was more, it was like the top came off of my world. And I was kind of living in fantasy in a way as I see it now, but it was like I was no longer restricted by what I thought my life needed to look like. So I was kind of into some crazy energy practices, and I was doing all kinds of weird stuff. And on that day that I left, I left kind of chaos in the house. I was like rushing around last minute, getting all my bags put in storage. I had boxes in storage because I was going to leave on a series of pet sits, traveling, doing house sitting and pet sitting, because I didn't want to just stay in New York. I didn't know where I wanted to live. I wanted to try out some things. And I always loved pets, and I can work remotely. So that's what I did. And I left that day. My first stop was I went first to Portland, Oregon, where I'd never been before. And that was my first stop. And then I just kind of continued from there.
Wow. Okay. So, okay. I think this is very interesting. It's also very encouraging, very scary as well for some people, I imagine. And not everybody, you don't have to leave your situations, everybody. Let's repeat this. But perhaps you do. Perhaps you do. And so let's go back to how does this come into your business, like this decision? How has that affected your business? I think you said something about it. It's left you a bit less structured or somehow, but and then I would like to weave it a little bit more, perhaps into day-to-day decisions. But right now, like, how does this affect how you work?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to do things in my business the way I'd done them just because I'd always done them that way. And I saw that I had created a lot of pressure. I had done things the way I was taught in business to I had my morning success ritual, which got bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So I would every morning get up early, I would do yoga, I would meditate, I would journal, I would read, I would do my exercise, I would drink water. There was like this whole thing, this whole routine. And it was great, except that after I'd been doing it a while, if I didn't do it, I would make myself feel really bad about it because I didn't do it. And then for the whole rest of the day, I'd be beating myself up. And there were lots of things like that in my business. I was
Mm.
driving myself to work all the time and doing things that, I mean, I look at it now, like, why am I doing this? I was making work for myself and I was making it hard because I needed to prove that I was worthwhile through my work. And so
Mm.
when I left, it was a real opportunity to do that differently. You know, I think that's one great thing. Maybe you found it too, Anthony, about traveling is that it shakes up your routine. And so we're a little less likely to just like we can take advantage of that external change to try something new inside. And so I changed the whole model of my business basically. It took some time because we had our online business. We were selling an online membership, we were selling courses. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I had a new business. It's now the Awakened business. And I said, I just want to coach people. I just want to focus on one-on-one coaching. So that was my first shift. And it was much less logistics. I didn't need landing pages and I didn't need to create lots of content. All I needed to do was talk to people. And so that was kind of the first thing. I just stripped all of that extra stuff out of my life. And then I kind of looked at my calendar and I used to block off time for everything. That was one of the things I was taught I was supposed to do. And then I read somewhere that you shouldn't have anything on your calendar unless it's an actual appointment. And neither one of those is true, by the way. You can do whatever you
Mm.
want. So that's when I started sitting with it. Like, how do I want to do this? Like, not the way this expert told me and the way I've done it before, but how do I want to do it? So for a while, I played with a very, very empty calendar.
Mm. And what
And
was that like? What was that like? I mean, did
well,
you
like,
have like did you start you had like started the day with like a theme or like some things that you wanted to do, or you just like nothing? You just like I'm sure you
I
had something though.
I don't even remember. You know, for most of my life, I was a person who was was driven by routines and discipline.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so I had all these rules about the way things were. So I just kind of started questioning it a little bit. I still had my appointments on my calendar. And then I was like, what do I want to do? And I had these regular activities I would do, but I didn't make myself do them. I kind of started to notice that if I actually wanted to do something, I did it. I didn't need to
Mm.
make myself. And if I didn't want to do something, I didn't. Or I'd give myself a really hard time about it. And so I just started to feel into it. It was more like an experiment or a dance. It wasn't like I did one thing or another. I just did a bunch of things. Like I would try things and mix it up. And sometimes I noticed I was floating a lot, which was great. I just coasted. I actually coasted, I would say, for a couple of years until somewhere in the pandemic when some of my clients canceled. And I was like, oh no, I got to do something. And then I started to look a little deeper about getting intentional about what I wanted to build instead of just coasting. So I went back
Mm.
to my calendar and started playing with it again. And do I want to have times? Do I want to block time? And so I was kind of in and out. But what I realized, okay, this is what I realized, and I keep seeing it, is that it is not how many things are on my calendar. It's not how busy I am. It's not how much I'm doing that creates this feeling of pressure, tension, and stress. It's what's
Okay.
happening in here. If I am clear and calm in here, I can go from back to back, meeting to meeting to meeting, no pressure and no stress. On the other hand, I can have a completely empty calendar and freak myself out with pressure and stress, nothing that I actually have to do, just by what goes on in my mind. And so
Yeah.
that's what really set me free.
Yeah, I feel we're talking a little bit like the ABC of like good practices which go up beyond a little bit like beyond like excessive structure. No, it's like how to so what happens to me is I end up having wanting to do about a million things in one day, right? So I'm a bit like drawn between them. So for me, it's really good if I focus down a little bit. Okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I always underestimate my abilities, right? And but so if so, let's say someone feels this internal pressure. Um, how how do you work with someone? Is this something you actually work with people at this point? Is it like one of the most important points in your coaching?
So this, I don't know if this will be satisfying for you, Anthony, but it is actually what I did, and actually what I did with someone just a little while ago today. So I'll just give you a little bit about the situation. She's become aware that she needs to make more money. And she just took some time to talk about it. And that's one of the things that I do, is I just give people space to talk about, hear themselves, think aloud. And a lot of that starts to unravel right there. They don't even need me, because as soon as they start to hear themselves, they hear the bullshit and they also hear the wisdom. And the wisdom has a certain feeling to it, like, oh, yeah, I know. That's what I need to do. They start to hear it when they slow down instead of just being lost in the noise in their heads. And so I just invited her to get quiet and listen. Listen, what do you know about this right now? And I often do this. What do you know? Get quiet and listen. And you're listening to the feeling, not for answers. So just listen. And she listened for a minute, and then she oh, okay, this came to mind, and this came to mind, and this came, all very solid ideas and all things she could take action on right now. She's like, but what do I do first? What's the most important? I was like, does it matter? Does it matter? Just pick one. This is our job, is to listen. Well, let's say, if I was going to put it this way, get clear on what it is that you really want. Because mostly when we're not doing what we think we want, it's because we're not clear. We've got a lot of crap on it. Like
Yeah,
maybe we
yeah,
want to make money, but we think that if we make money, it's going to mean I have to work really hard, or it's going to mean I'm going to have to sacrifice my family. And so there's a conflict. It's not clean and clear. So get clear. What do you actually want? Once you do that, your system, this system we've got, which is amazing, is designed to take us towards what we want. That's going to give us what will feel good and take us away from things we don't want and what will feel bad. And when you're clear, it does a really good job. If you're sending conflicting information, you're going to get conflicting results. So that's the first thing. This woman happened to be clear, by the way. Like we talked about that. She was clear, actually. She's now. She wasn't last week, but she's clear now. I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
so look,
Clarity is so important.
you're clear. And now what do you know to do? Okay. Get quiet. Like, don't go here. Stop going here. Get quiet
Quiet.
and let it
Yeah,
come to you. Yeah.
yes, that's it. We get in a frenzy, and then we're not clear. So yeah, we're quiet and not clear. Quietness.
And
So
then
yeah.
there's this beautiful piece by Byron Katie. It's from her book, Loving What Is. It's called There Is Just One Thing to Do. In
Mm,
any moment, there is one thing.
yes.
And if you get quiet and you listen, that thing will occur to you. It might not satisfy your mind, because it might be, get a drink of water,
Mm,
do the
yeah.
dishes, do this dish,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah,
something here that's yours to do only right now. And that's it. We
yeah.
can, we can have an amazing business that way. Now, sometimes it might actually, the thing to do right now might actually be outline a whole strategy for something. But a lot of the time, it's very simple. It's like, call this person, send this email, make this video, write this blog post. Very simple.
Yeah, no, I like it. I use this example often as well because Alan Watts in his talk that I love. I just love this talk, work as play. he then starts suggesting we don't wash a whole pile of dishes. We
Hmm.
wash one dish at a time.
Yeah.
So it's that really interacting with that one thing at a time. Mm. So your work is a lot around flow. It's like it pops up on here and there on your website, right? And I would just like to play around with this definition that Catherine Price has around like true fun, which is true fun. She says, I find it very interesting way of thinking about it. Is a mixture of playfulness, connection, and flow. Um, so connection might seem a bit like flow, but it's playfulness is this like spirit now of coming things with openness, with curiosity, with joy. Connection is with somebody else, um, and then flow is just this almost like timeless quality to it. Um, So I was wondering about if you all that also like moments in your life where you feel like you've really had true fun. Um, if this sort of like rings true to you, this model, and then talk a little bit
Hmm.
more about the flow side of things. I think that's interesting. Having a business in flow, like what does it mean?
And moments of true fun. So a moment of fun, as it looks to me now, is not just enjoyment of what is, but it's like delight in what is. It's like a
Mm.
celebration of what's happening. So something for me, I think it's going to be different for different people. It's going to have different flavors, right? Like you talk about the different
Yeah,
playful
sure, sure, sure.
personalities. Um, but for me, I'm having fun when I'm sort of delighted with what's happening. I'm sort of laughing at it. Like I'm actually being playful. Maybe I'm a little cheeky. Maybe I'm messing with someone a little bit in a loving kind of way. Like I'm poking and we're like laughing at ourselves, like that kind of thing. I mean, that's the kind of real fun I have in business. Sometimes I'll write a story that just makes me laugh. I'm delighting in it. You know, it's kind of like lighting me up. I mean, that feels like fun. That's like fun, I would say. I mean, but anything is enjoyable. Like literally anything is enjoyable. That's different than fun. But I
Yeah,
would
no,
take
like real
enjoyment.
fun, real fun.
Yeah.
You touched on it. I could see your whole face changed when you're talking about this now. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
want, but it's generally said it's like the real fun moment is with someone else. But I would question this a little bit because maybe it is with
I've
yourself,
had them with myself too. I'm
with yourself. Yeah,
delighting myself at something that I'm writing. It's something being written through me. I'm writing a story and I'm like cracking myself up. There's nobody else there, but
yeah,
that's fun. That is fun.
yeah. And then I think about children that when they see something joyful, they want to pass it on to adults, like a guardian or somebody.
Mhm.
They like to share their joy shared just makes it even bigger. Um, so perhaps the joy comes then with other people reading your story. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
There's a sharing.
there's like a well, you've written. I don't know if you've had this experience, but a lot of writers have. I write, but I don't know what I'm writing. And especially if it's fiction, right? It's like something emerges and I'm like, I didn't know that was going to happen. It's not like I planned it. And then, like, well, that's really funny. And I read it back and it's like somebody else wrote it. And so it's sort of like me having having a go with myself, like chuckling to myself over that sounds really strange, but that's how it feels. So
No,
that's
no, it
that's
doesn't sound
one
strange. It
fun
sounds wonderful. Yeah, the
that's
ability
fun.
to surprise ourselves. Yeah. Because
Mhm.
we take things so for granted. Um, we take things really for face value, the things that are around us, and we don't sort of dig in a little bit deeper. Um, and we're sort of defending our position all the time. I'm the authority in this thing. I know all about this thing, and I think you've sort of thrown this a little bit out the window, right? So what?
Oh, totally.
So what happens there? How can I mean, it's not like somebody wakes up in the morning, oh, I don't want to be a know-it-all anymore. That doesn't really happen. But how has this process gone for you?
I love not knowing. It makes sense to me now. I was afraid of it, as most people are, for a very long time, until I realized that not knowing is simply, I don't know yet. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I don't know how I feel about something. I don't know what I want to do about something. That's not a problem until I start making something up about what it means to not know. So I'm really not afraid of not knowing. I'm afraid of what I've made up about what that means. I made up the
Mm,
unknown, what that is, what that's scary, right? Like that's not just not knowing, like right here. I don't know what you're going to say next. It's not scary. I just don't know. So it changed the way I see the world. And not only is it not scary, it's where the good stuff comes from. So, Anthony, like, if I knew what I was going to write, I could never surprise myself. But when I don't know and I show up and I start writing, something shows up for me. That's not just true in writing. I found it in writing. Artists talk about it in painting. Performers talk about it. Athletes talk about it. This is flow. It's an experience of not me, bigger than me. This is our natural state. Whenever I'm not caught up in me, that's what comes through. It
mm.
happens in coaching. It happens in conversation. It happens with our pets. It happens so much, but we don't notice it because we're usually caught up here. But in those moments when we feel relaxed and good, that's where flow is already happening.
Yeah. So let's so I can relate to this flow if I'm like a solopreneur or I just have a few people that I hire here and there. But what about a team or like a bigger company? How do they flow together? How does it work?
Mhm. Well, first is if each individual understands the degree to which they understand that they can relax and something will come through them, that when we relax and we don't have a lot on our minds, flow is natural. If people understand that, they relax more into it. So that's one thing that when I'm working with groups, I'm helping them to get an understanding of how this works, first of all, right? Then, to the degree you have that understanding, the consciousness of the group is going to rise and they're going to flow together. So it doesn't take a lot because you can be there very quickly and just catch yourself when you leave because we're going to leave. We're going to get caught up. We're going to start overthinking. We're going to make up stories. That is not a problem. That's what we do. But
Yeah.
catching it, we can kind of come back. And then for me, this is how the experience I have now is that in a group of people, it's more like I'm a conductor. I'm not a dictator. I'm not a leader. It's like, okay, my role here, I know what my role is. My role is, we might have a specific agenda. We might have a loose agenda. We might have things we need to get done. Or maybe my role is to draw out from the individuals, but really I'm conducting the energies. So it's like, if it doesn't occur to me, I can relax. Something occurs to me, I know what to do. But if it doesn't, it occurs to somebody else. And now it's kind of like there's this place where in flow in a group, people will just step forward and step back and step forward and step back. And if there's structure that's necessary, it'll occur to somebody. And it doesn't have to be me, even if I'm the one who hosted the meeting and I'm the quote unquote leader. It's really cool. I'm guessing you probably have, it's like an improvised performance, right?
Yeah,
You
no,
don't
no, I totally
decide
understand it.
beforehand. Yeah, like I know you get this because you're a
And we need
performer.
we need some silence, and I, I get the feeling that some people are like they when they're a little bit tense, let's say, they just want to say their thing, so people will start talking on top of one another, and they're not listening anymore. So this is a very simple but unusual quality to have, this of listening and allowing people to come forward and say their thing, huh? And they will
Yeah.
say things that are actually meaningful, not just to have an opinion on something they don't even care about, right?
And you do need to have an agreement for that to happen. So if you were to plop me into a typical business meeting, right? Then you're like, who is this person? We have no context and no understanding and no agreement. They're like, she's crazy. Get her out of here. Why would we want to listen to her? Why would we want to, what? Like, no, I run this meeting because I need to control, right? So there's got to be a context and agreement before that. That's why I mean, like, we need to, as individuals, understand that this is available and be willing to explore with it. If that doesn't happen, it's very limited what you can do. Now, as I said, I don't think it takes a lot for that to happen, because all we need to do is have a conversation about what it feels like to be in flow, what it feels like, how productive we are when we're relaxed and not thinking, not overthinking, versus what it's like when I'm tense, stressed out, and what my behaviors are like and what the experience is like. So it doesn't take people long to get on the same page, but you have to be on the same page first, for sure.
So let's say, because I've been working with how to make a case for all these things for quite some time now. So why would somebody even want this sort of approach? What are they feeling? Are they feeling that the meetings aren't really working, or especially with people, they want the control, or they don't want to like give it to somebody else. They're not ever gonna. I don't know. What is there a point when they decide that let's try something new, or what are your feelings and thoughts about this?
Well, this is based on what I'm hearing from people, in particular in a corporate environment, that they might even call toxic. Nobody's listening. They don't feel cared about, and they don't care. And they're feeling, either they've checked out. What do they call this now? Quiet quitting. They're almost like not there. They're not really
Yeah,
doing
right.
anything, or they just keep their head down and only do what's required of them. So why might someone be interested in this? Well, do you want to have a more enjoyable experience at work? Do you want to do better results yourself? Do you want to have a team that actually cares and is more productive, get more creative ideas, and enjoy the whole process more, so that you retain the people on your team, so that you like we are designed to be creative and enjoy ourselves. We're wired for play. I mean, that's what we do as children, right? We can come back to that, and it's not hard. And when we do, we will put in so much energy and effort, and it won't feel like work. I mean, that's the reason you might just consider something like this. And you don't have to be radical about it. Like, you can still get shit done in your meetings. I mean, you want to, and more or less structure, but you can do it like a human being. You can do it with space. You can do it in a relaxed way instead of a tight, intense way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a pretty good argument you just made there.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, it makes sense coming from that sort of mindset. And then when we talk about playfulness, we can't play or be open when we're in this fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
that we're
Yes.
nearly always in. So playing resets our nervous system, but also our nervous system helps us be a little bit more open about it. I'm just wondering what we could talk about for like the last point to talk about today, before we sort of like start wrapping things up a little bit. What have you been working on recently, Stephanie, that you think like this is really important, this what I've been working on, and why aren't people doing it? Like,
What's important and that people aren't doing? Oh my gosh, the thing that is so alive for me, and also with other people, the people I'm working with, friends and clients, is enjoying life. Like, that is the point. to me, if there is a point, is to enjoy the life that we have. Well, we don't trust it. And I get it, because I do the same thing as every other human. And I think that the the stories I've made up, the scary futures that I've made up that are driving my mind crazy, I need to think about them more to try to solve them and make them go away. But it doesn't work. It's throwing oil onto that fire, right? What we really need to do, the solution, and I'm not trying to oversimplify it, I'm trying to let it be as simple as it is relax. That's where the solution comes to us. So, and I keep seeing this. I saw this recently myself. I was like, why am I going to my intellect, which can only repeat things that it's seen before in the past, when I can get quiet and there's a greater intelligence that everyone has an experience of? It's when those ideas drop in and they feel like, whoa, that didn't come from me. Why am I not getting quiet and paying more attention to that when I need an idea or solution, or I want to create money or clients? And I get it. Like, I really get it, because it's so compelling. The stories, the movie I have playing up here is so compelling that it just sucks me in. But that's not where the answers come from. That's not where I'm going to find what I'm looking for. So that's what I wish we all knew more.
Yeah, we could talk about lots of other things, like why are we so busy, as well. Why are we so busy? That's not so. Stephanie, I'm going to be hosting your workshop in September, and just if you could say something a little bit about your workshop, that what are we going to be doing? Like, you have to tell everything, right? It needs to be a surprise.
Sure.
But
well, it will be a surprise, because I've deliberately set it up so that there's a looseness to it, so that whatever those people who show up bring is going to create the experience we have. So I might go right, I might go left, something new might emerge, I don't know. But it's an experience in flow. It's finding the confidence and clarity you seek through what I call the now step, not the next step. Some people talk about it that way, but like, what's happening right now and what you know, and seeing how much more we know than we realize. And what we know is always enough. We just think it's not enough. And having a real-time experience of that you can not only have in this workshop, but take it into your life, take it into your business, and experiment with it. You don't have to dive in head first right away. You can dip your toe in. But I'm going to strongly recommend that. See, once we see that that's available, of course we're going to do it. We just don't trust it.
excellent. And it's free, this workshop.
Yes, it
There's no
is.
excuses. There's no excuses. So I will put the sign up link when it's ready in the comments here for the workshop. And I think it's the 21st of September. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I would have to look too. It's sometime in September, that
Something
month.
around that sort of time. So Stephanie, anyway, on the video I could see the Awakened Business. This is where people can check you out and read more about you. And so just to end, what your favorite film? Your favorite film right now?
My favorite film right now.
Or a film that you loved?
Oh, the one that's coming to mind. I think to me, it was a near perfect film. It's called Her. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's about a man who falls in love with an AI, but that's not really what it's about. It's about consciousness. And this was the movie that introduced me to Alan Watts. My goodness. Oh, really? And I just love it. I love it so much. Yeah. If you like that kind of thing, if you like explorations of, consciousness and love and reality and what we are, like that's my jam. And I think it's a beautiful, entertaining story. It's very heartfelt too.
Okay, brilliant. And is there anything you'd like to say to the people before we close our session?
Yes. If you had a nice feeling, a warm feeling, maybe the stirrings of hope or inspiration in listening to us, you're getting it. That's it. Know that it's alive in you and it's happening. And if you haven't had those feelings, know that it doesn't mean that's not available for you. It's still right here. You're just not feeling it. You're feeling whatever else you're thinking right now. So in either case, you have what you need.
Thank you. Gonna end this live stream right now. Thanks for watching. We'll just wait for your comments in the comments.